shadowy corners of western Pennsylvania folklore, a chilling tale has been passed down through generations. They speak of the enigmatic green man who lurks in the darkness of the night, his ominous silhouette often seen by the roadside or within the mouth of a local tunnel. His ethereal green glow pierces the midnight black, and the mere presence of his flickering torch can throw a car's electrical systems into chaos. The grotesquely disfigured face and eerie radiance of his skin are believed to be grotesque scars from electrifying encounters. One tale spins the yarn of a fateful strike by lightning, another whispers of his days as a railroad laborer, culminating in an electrifying tragedy that claimed his life. Sometimes, such urban legends are nothing more than fabrications woven from the threads of human imagination. Yet, there are instances when such tales carry a glimmer of truth, albeit embellished over time with layers of supernatural intrigue. This narrative of the Green Man, or Charley No Face as he's sometimes known, falls into the latter category. The origins of this legend are rooted in the life of a real individual who was victim to a horrific accident during his childhood. Raymond Robinson was his name, born on October 29, 1910. His life was much like any other, that is until fate intervened when he was 8 years old. One balmy afternoon in June 1919, Ray and his friends found themselves enticed by the prospect of an adventurous climb. Their target was a bird's nest perched precariously on a railroad bridge that stretched across Wallace Run in Big Beaver, Pennsylvania. Accounts differ on the events that followed. Some claim Ray was dared into making the climb to investigate the nest, while others suggest it was his initiative that led to the daredevil escapade. According to the Beaver Falls Evening Tribune, it was indeed Ray who ignited the spark for this adventure. Little did they know that it would forever change his life in a terrifying and tragic way. The events that followed would give rise to one of the most enduring urban legends of western Pennsylvania, a tale of terror that continues to chill the blood of locals to this very day. As the chilling mist of fall descended in September the previous year, a tragic incident had occurred at the very bridge Ray and his friends were set to scale. A 12-year-old boy, Robert Little, had dared to dance with the deadly electrical lines that crisscrossed the structure, meeting a fatal end. Despite the grim knowledge of this event, Ray and his friends decided to dare the fates, betting against a repeat of such a horrific accident. Ray, driven by the curiosity of a child and the bravado of youth, clambered up to the bird's nest. His hand reached out, and in one life-altering moment, connected with an electrified line. Though it remains unclear which line he touched, each carried a fatal potential. Bill Franzak, a researcher for the Pennsylvania Trolley Museum, noted that the main transmission line bore an awe-striking 22,000 volts of AC electricity. A second line, powering the daily trolley between Elwood City and Beaver Falls, held 1,200 volts of DC current. The line he touched exploded in a frenzy of energy, branding horrific burns onto his upper chest, stealing his sight by claiming his eyes, severing part of an ear, his nose, and an arm below the elbow. His mouth, too, was horrifically disfigured. However, unlike young Robert Little, Ray managed to hold on to life, defying the grim predictions of doctors and local newspapers that had already written his obituary. Miraculously, a mere 2 months after the harrowing incident, not only was he alive, but he was also in relatively good spirits. As the Daily Times reported on August 16, 1919, in spite of all this affliction, the boy is in good humor. This unwavering resilience would come to define Ray's character into his adulthood. As one of his nephews later recounted in an interview, he never complained about anything. Following an extended recovery period in the hospital, Ray returned home. His family provided unwavering support as he navigated his new reality. As the years passed, the young boy grew into a man. His favorite pastimes became listening to the radio and creating doormats, wallets, and belts from leather, which he sold to make a living. His extraordinary journey from a devastating accident to an iconic figure in local folklore turned an ordinary man into the legendary figure of the Green Man, a story passed down through generations that continues to instill a sense of awe and fear to this day. In spite of the adversity Ray faced, he embraced the simple pleasures of life, taking up chores such as mowing the lawn, a task he accomplished with surprising deftness despite his blindness. Venturing out during daylight was a rare occurrence for him, as his scarred visage and the prosthetic nose attached to his glasses drew unwanted attention, often laced with negativity, yet this couldn't confine his spirit. Ray cherished the thrill of exploring the trails that cut through the dense woods surrounding his home. Guided by the touch of his foot alternating between the path and the wild undergrowth, and a walking stick to sense his surroundings, he ventured out on these solitary explorations. However, when a coal company decimated his beloved trail, Ray found solace in nocturnal walks along Route 351 between Coppell and New Galilee. Despite his mother, Louise Robinson's, objections and the disapproval of his family, these walks often stretched well past midnight. Unfazed by the lack of light, for a world in perpetual darkness was his reality, he navigated his way through these outings much like his woodland adventures, one foot on the road and the other off. In the 1950s, whispers of the Green Man began to stir among the local communities. Drivers who spotted the solitary figure wandering along the road in the dead of night weaved tales of their encounters. It was thought that his moniker, the Green Man, stemmed from the green shirts Ray often donned on his walks. However, it's worth noting that he was more commonly known among the locals as Charley No Face. The name Green Man was often used by folks from the outskirts who hadn't had the privilege of knowing the resilient and enduring spirit behind the haunting legend. As the tales of the Green Man flourished, the tranquil solitude of Ray's nocturnal ventures became punctuated by the thrill of adventure seekers and curious teenagers venturing into the night to catch a glimpse of the legendary figure. Given that some of these thrill seekers were far from gentle in their curiosity, Ray often found sanctuary in the protective embrace of the bushes and trees flanking the roadside, silently retreating at the faintest rumble of an approaching car. However, Ray wasn't always the elusive specter hiding in the shadows. Occasionally, he would agree to step into the dim headlights of a car, allowing the curious strangers to capture his likeness in exchange for cigarettes or beer. This practice, much to his family's dismay, often led to him getting drunk, lost, and at times, even straying too far from his familiar roadside. Despite his adverse circumstances, Ray was often willing to engage in friendly conversation with those kind enough to get to know him. His family surmised this might have been one of the reasons behind his fondness for the late-night sojourns, a chance for companionship in his otherwise solitary existence. Many of those who met him remembered Ray for his inherent kindness and modesty. As former resident John Ransack recounted in an interview,
"He wouldn't come out for everybody. Once he got to know you, he'd come over and talk about the weather, how hot it was. We never asked about his disability, and he never brought it up."
However, as time wore on and age caught up with him, Ray's nightly walks became fewer, growing sporadic before ceasing entirely in the 1980s. His final chapter began at the Beaver County Geriatric Center, where he relocated to spend the twilight of his life. It was here that he finally found rest, succumbing to natural causes at the age of 74 on June 11, 1985. Even in death, his legend lived on, his story continuing to ripple through time, chilling and enthralling generations long after his final walk under the moonlit sky.